This man claimed that death could be cancelled with a word. 1 month before the Nobel Prize, he was dead. A coincidence? Why do people who eat right, exercise regularly, and take vitamins still grow old, develop cancer and diabetes, and die in agony? Why are doctors powerless, and why don't pills work? Pyotr Goryaev, doctor of biological sciences and Nobel Prize nominee, claimed to have uncovered the secret. Death, he said, is a program failure, one that you create yourself with every word you speak. How is that possible? What did he discover? And who benefited from keeping it hidden? Right now, you are about to learn 5 shocking discoveries of Pyotr Goryaev. The 5th revelation will completely change how you see life, death, and the very nature of reality. Pyotr Goryaev was born in 1942 into an ordinary Soviet family. No one could have imagined that this boy would one day challenge the entire world of medicine. He became a doctor of biological sciences and an academician of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences. But his path to recognition was paved with obstacles. Official science labeled his work pseudoscience. Colleagues laughed. The media accused him of fraud. In 1985, Goryaev began experiments that changed everything. He did not treat DNA as a dead chemical formula, but as a living system capable of receiving and transmitting information. While other scientists cut molecules with scalpels, Goryaev listened to their music. He discovered that DNA emits waves similar to radio signals. These waves carry information about health, disease, and even lifespan. In the 2000s, a breakthrough occurred. Goryaev demonstrated that DNA reacts to human speech just as strongly as it reacts to radiation or chemicals. This shocked the scientific world. Representatives of traditional medicine refused to publish his papers, saying, "This is impossible. It contradicts the laws of physics." But the experimental results could not be disproven. In 2020, something extraordinary happened. Goryaev was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. The information circulated within narrow scientific circles. There was no official confirmation, but his supporters were preparing for triumph. On November 17, 2020, Pyotr Goryaev suddenly died at the age of 78. Just 1 week earlier, he had been in perfect health. Relatives spoke of a heart attack. Doctors confirmed it. But questions remained. How does a man who studied the nature of life and death for 40 years die so suddenly? Why exactly 1 month before the most important award of his life? Who benefited from silencing him? What exactly had he discovered that threatened the trillion-dollar business of pharmaceutical corporations? Before his death, Goryaev managed to pass something crucial to his students. Information about his 5 main discoveries, knowledge that could change the life of everyone who hears it. Today, you will learn these secrets. But first, a fact that will make your hair stand on end. And the most shocking part is still ahead. The next discovery is something modern science still cannot explain. Goryaev's first discovery was connected to an experiment that sounds like science fiction. The scientist took a sample of human DNA and placed it inside a sealed chamber. Special instruments recorded a weak electromagnetic radiation emitted by the molecule. This was normal. Every living tissue emits energy. So far, everything obeyed the laws of physics. Then Goryaev completely removed the DNA from the chamber, cleaned it down to the last molecule, and checked everything 10 times. According to all the laws of nature, the radiation should have stopped instantly. The source was gone. The signal should have disappeared. The logic was airtight. But nature laughed at logic. The instruments continued to record radiation. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month. For 40 consecutive days, the detectors kept capturing waves coming from an empty chamber. Goryaev called this phenomenon the DNA phantom. A trace, an imprint, a hologram in space. The molecules were gone, but the information remained. Like music that continues to play in your head after the radio has been turned off. The scientist repeated the experiment hundreds of times. He changed the equipment, invited independent experts. The result never changed. The phantom existed. Information proved to be stronger than matter. This was a blow to the entire materialistic view of science. If a trace remains after the carrier is destroyed, then information exists independently of the physical world. Goryaev reached a revolutionary conclusion. Your cells leave a wave imprint in space. Every DNA molecule creates an invisible copy of itself. This copy lives its own life even after the cell dies. Imagine this. When you die, your body decomposes, but the wave-based copy remains. It continues to exist in space, like a radio wave that cannot be seen but can still be picked up by a receiver. The scientist asked himself, if cells leave a phantom, what happens to consciousness, to your thoughts, memories, personality? Do they also leave a trace after the body dies? This question led Goryaev to his second discovery. And this is where the real mystery begins. This was only the first discovery, yet it already shatters the mind. What comes next is even more powerful, because it concerns how your words can kill or heal at the molecular level. The second discovery. Goryaev's second discovery became a bombshell even for his own supporters. The scientists conducted a series of experiments that demonstrated something incredible. DNA understands human speech, not just reacting to sound, but actually understanding the meaning of words, the way a computer understands a programmer's commands. Goryaev took samples of healthy human DNA, placed them under a microscope, and began exposing them to sound waves. He used a special laser modulated by human speech. The laser beam transferred sound information directly into the molecular structure. The first test involved insults and curses. Goryaev pronounced the harshest, most aggressive words he knew. Under the microscope, a terrifying picture emerged. Chromosomes began to distort, twist, and tear apart. The damage increased with every second. The scientists stopped the experiment and took measurements. The result was shocking. The DNA damage corresponded to radiation exposure of 30,000 Roentgens. For comparison, the lethal radiation dose for a human is about 400 Roentgens. A single curse caused damage 75 times greater than a lethal dose of radiation. This was not a metaphor. It was a physical reality measured by instruments. Then Goryaev conducted the reverse experiment. He took the damaged DNA samples, the same ones destroyed by curses, and began exposing them to prayers and kind words. He read Orthodox Christian prayers, Buddhist mantras, and simply spoke words of goodwill, pronouncing them sincerely with deep emotion. And then something extraordinary happened. Torn chromosomes began to reconnect. Damaged sections started to recover. The process unfolded before his eyes. The stronger the emotional charge of the words, the faster the healing occurred. Sincere prayer worked faster than mechanical repetition. Love healed more effectively than indifference. Goryaev realized that every word you speak programs your body. This is not psychology, not self-suggestion, not the placebo effect. It is a direct physical impact of sound waves on molecular structure. When a mother shouts at her child, she damages the child's DNA. When a person tells themselves, I am sick, I am old, I am dying, they literally kill their own cells from within. But the opposite works as well. When you speak kind words to yourself or to others, you trigger a process of healing. Prayer is not an appeal to the heavens. It is wave-based therapy that restores the genetic code. You mentally or out loud say destructive phrases. I'm tired. My head hurts. Now multiply that by days, months, years. This is where diseases come from that doctors call unexplainable. But this is only the beginning. The next discovery explains why some people live to 100 years old and remain healthy, while others die at 50 from incurable diseases. The third discovery concerns what Goryaev called the unified informational field of the Earth. It sounds esoteric. but the scientists claim to have proven it both mathematically and experimentally. All information about every living being on the planet is stored in a single field, a vast invisible library, where the history of every cell, every organism, and every human who has ever lived is recorded. Goryaev conducted experiments with plants. He took a young, healthy wheat plant and recorded the wave characteristics of its DNA onto a special medium. Then he took an old, dying plant, almost completely dried out. The leaves were yellow, the stem was drooping, the roots were rotting. By all signs, the plant would die within a few days. The scientists began irradiating the dying plant with the recorded wave information from the young one. The result appeared within 24 hours. The old plant began to revive. New green leaves appeared. The stem straightened. The roots strengthened. After 1 week, it was impossible to believe this was the same dying plant. It looked young, fresh, and full of life. But where did the plant get the information it needed to restore itself? Goryaev realized that it was reading the information from the informational field itself. The recording served only as a key that opened access to a vast database, like a password that opens the door to a library. The scientists took the next step and conducted similar experiments on animals. Rats suffering from diabetes were exposed to wave-based information from healthy rats. Their pancreas began to function again. Blood sugar levels dropped to normal, without insulin, without pills, without diet, only wave information. Blind mice with destroyed retinas were exposed to information from sighted mice. Within a month, they began to see. Their retinas were restored from nothing. Cells were reading a program of health from the informational field and rebuilding themselves according to that program. Goryaev came to a revolutionary conclusion. We are all connected to a single field. Every thought, every word, every emotion creates a wave in this ocean of information. When you feel anger, hatred, or envy, you pollute the field around you. This affects the health of everyone nearby, especially children, because their connection to the field is stronger. When you experience love, joy, and gratitude, you cleanse the space. Your state influences others at a distance. This is why prayer for another person works. Even if they are on the other side of the planet, the wave enters the informational field and reaches the recipient, because distance does not exist in the field. There are no meters or kilometers, only connection. This explains phenomena that science calls mysticism. Why does a mother feel when her child is in danger even thousands of kilometers away? Because they are connected through the informational field. Why do twins feel each other's pain? Why do people see visions and dreams? All of this is the reading of information from the unified field. It would seem everything is now clear, but this is where the most frightening part begins. The fourth discovery explains why the scientist was so feared. Goryaev did not stop at theory. He created a practical healing technology based on wave matrices, a technology that threatened the very existence of the pharmaceutical industry, an industry that earns $4 trillion a year. The essence of the method was simple. Healthy DNA from a young organism was taken, and its wave-based signature was recorded. Then this information was used to irradiate the patient's diseased cells. The cells read the program of health and began to restore themselves without chemicals, without surgery, and without side effects. In 2005, Goryaev conducted an officially registered experiment. He took a group of rats with a severe form of diabetes. Their pancreas was barely producing insulin. By human standards, this corresponded to the final stage of the disease. Without treatment, the rats were expected to die within 2 to 3 weeks. The scientists exposed them to a wave matrix of a healthy pancreas taken from young rats. The sessions lasted 20 minutes, 3 times a week. After 10 days, blood sugar levels began to drop. After 3 weeks, they returned to normal. The rats were completely cured of diabetes. Their pancreas fully restored its ability to produce insulin. The next experiment was even more impressive. Goryaev took a group of blind mice. Their retinas had been completely destroyed by a genetic defect. Blindness is considered incurable. Modern medicine can only slow the process, but cannot restore vision. Retinal transplantation is technically impossible. The scientists began irradiating the eyes of the mice with wave-based information from healthy retinas. The process was slow. The first changes appeared after 2 weeks. The mice began reacting to light. After 1 month, they could distinguish objects. After 2 months, their vision was fully restored. Blind mice could see just as well as healthy ones. There is also unofficial evidence of treatments in humans. Cancer patients who had been given only a month to live underwent wave therapy with Goryaev. The tumor shrank and in some cases disappeared completely. Documentary proof of this does not exist because official medicine refused to recognize the method. However, testimonies from the patients themselves do exist. Now it becomes clear why this was dangerous. If a person can cure cancer, diabetes, and blindness using sound and light, why would chemotherapy costing hundreds of thousands of dollars be needed? Why would lifelong insulin injections be necessary? Why would the most complex eye surgeries be required? Pharmaceutical corporations would lose a $4 trillion market. This is not a business. It is an empire. And this empire protects itself. Goryaev was not published in scientific journals. His inventions were not patented. The media labeled him a charlatan. And when that was not enough, just 1 month after being nominated for the Nobel Prize, he suddenly died. A heart attack at the age of 78. A man who supposedly knew how to prevent any disease. Now pay attention. The next revelation is the most important one. The reason you are watching this video to the end. The information Goryaev passed on to his students before his death. The fifth and most shocking discovery concerns the nature of death. Goryaev claimed, death, as we understand it, does not exist. What we call death is merely a malfunction in a program, an error in the code that we ourselves begin writing into our bodies from the moment of birth. Imagine your body as a radio receiver. Complex, perfect, but still just a receiver. It captures a signal from the informational field and converts it into life. As long as the receiver works, you live. When it breaks down, you die. But the question is, what happens to the signal itself, to the wave that the receiver was catching? Goryaev answered, the signal does not disappear anywhere. The radio wave continues to exist even when the receiver is broken. In the same way, your consciousness continues to exist even when the body dies. It remains in the informational field as a DN, a phantom that emits waves for 40 days after the molecular structure is destroyed. But where does the malfunction come from? Why does the receiver break down? Goryaev conducted dozens of experiments and came to an incredible conclusion. We program our own death. Every time you say, I am getting old, you record an aging program into your DNA. When you say, I am sick, you record a disease program. When you think I will die, you create a death program. This is not a metaphor. It is a physical process. Your words create a sound wave. That wave affects DNA. DNA changes its structure according to the information it receives. If the information is destructive, DNA degrades. If the information is healing, DNA restores itself. Goryaev claimed that fear of death is the most powerful destructive program of all. A person fears death. This emotion of fear creates a massive wave in the informational field. That wave is recorded into DNA. Cells begin preparing for death. Aging processes are activated. The organism slowly dies because it has been programmed to do so. But if the program is changed, the result can be changed. Goryaev proved people who do not fear death live longer. Not because they are braver, but because there is no fear program in their DNA. Their cells do not receive a signal that they need to die. The scientists studied long livers from all over the world, people who lived to 100, 110, even 150 years. What united them? Not diet, not exercise, not medicine. They were united by their attitude toward death. They did not fear it. They perceived it as a natural transition into another state. Goryaev wrote this in his final work. We are immortal as long as our melody sounds in the informational field. The death of the body is not the end of you as a personality. It is a transition from one form of existence to another, from material to wave-based, from visible to invisible. But the information about you remains forever. That is why phenomena such as reincarnation exist. Children who remember past lives are not inventing stories. They are reading information from the field where the memory of everyone who has ever lived is stored. Your words, actions, and thoughts are recorded in this field. They influence other people, future generations, and the very structure of reality itself. Before his death, Goryaev told his students, "If they kill me, it will change nothing. The information is already in the field. It cannot be destroyed. It can only be accepted or rejected." A week later, he died, but his words remained. His discoveries remained. And now you know what he knew. Enough theory. Let's move to practice. Here are specific steps you can start using today to reprogram your reality. Rule 1. Immediately eliminate destructive phrases from your speech. I'm tired. I'm sick. I'm getting old. Nothing will work out. I can't handle this. Every such phrase is a command to your DNA to self-destruct. Replace them with constructive ones. I am full of energy. My body is healthy. I am getting younger every day. Everything works out for me. I can handle anything. Rule 2. Say kind words to yourself out loud every day. Stand in front of the mirror in the morning. Look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you. You are beautiful. You are healthy. You are strong. This is not self-suggestion. This is direct reprogramming of your genetic code through sound waves. Rule 3. Use prayers or affirmations with deep feeling. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not. What matters is sincerity and emotional intensity. Prayer is a concentrated healing wave. It enters the informational field and returns to you amplified thousands of times. Rule 4. Completely remove curses and foul language from your life, especially toward yourself and your loved ones. Remember the number 30,000 Roentgens. Every harsh word delivers a blow of that magnitude to your cells. This is not an exaggeration. This is a scientifically measured fact. Rule 5. Stop being afraid of death. Understand this. You are immortal. Your consciousness does not disappear when the body dies. It transitions into the informational field and remains there forever. Fear of death is the most destructive program of all. Get rid of it, and you will live much longer. What music is playing inside you right now? A requiem of death or a hymn of life? Goryaev proved, you choose your melody yourself. With every word, every thought, every emotion, you write the code of your reality. Try these rules for just 1 week, only 7 days, and you will feel the difference in your body, in your state, in your life. And in the next video, I will tell you about other scientists who were silenced for the truth.